Because like this person can't say this because they look a certain way is the exact thing that we are trying to dismantle, especially for women. There is nothing you can't say because you look a certain way. Like you know what I mean? Like it's just like women are more likely to not say anything or to not have a voice and to not have the courage almost to use their voice because they're worried of so much backlash. And it's just like, I'm always encouraging women to just like come out and say your feels, and a lot of people will align with that. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
And I'm Rachel.
Hi Rachel, welcome back.
Hey, girl.
Welcome back everyone. Happy fall. Are you happy about fall? We recently had the first day of fall. Rachel says no.
It's a no from me, dog.
So we have an interesting segment for you today that I'm pretty excited about because we had you guys ask some questions and we are going to answer them. And this is an exciting one for us because we really try and stay connected with our community and try and keep a pulse on what's going on. What are the ladies asking? What do they want to know? And especially, what do they want to know anonymously? That was a very important part of this question.
It was the most important part for me. Let me just say that I feel that you get the most honest feedback from people when it's anonymous. So it had to be, if we were going to ask people questions, it had to be anonymous. I'm really glad that Instagram has that feature now that you can, ask an anonymous question. And I think that, obviously there's two ways that you can go. It's exciting because you're going to get like the real raw questions that people really want to know. And it's also frightening because
you're going to get the real raw questions that people want to know. Yeah, exactly that. I feel like one of the things when you ask, when you offer to, number one, allow people to ask you questions, that can be nerve-wracking in general. And then you allow them to ask you questions anonymously. It really, you can ask whatever you want. And that's an exciting one for me. Also, definitely, I don't like to answer some questions. But some of them that were actually really thought-provoking and that I think people would be nervous about asking if they had their name attached to it because, they were a little bit spicy, but honestly, and could be taken offensively. But I thought they were actually very thought-provoking, and I was glad. I was like, I've been waiting for you to ask me this. I've been waiting for so long, and it could be taken offensively. It definitely could be, but I feel like when things are asked in a genuinely, like, I want to know the answer to this, and this may seem offensive to you, I'm like, bring it. I'm excited. I'm excited you asked me this.
The thing that you always can count on with eights is that truth is so high on their list of importance. So like being uncomfortable falls below the truth. Like it's like I'm not so obsessed with being comfortable or, being just that general feeling of like, oh, I don't want, anybody to make me feel like vulnerable, or that all falls below the truth. I just live in the truth. And I think that you're so right that it, for a second, it was like, okay, a little bit of a pause on some of these questions, but I'm really glad they were asked. I'm really glad to answer them. And I think that it's going to be, therapeutic for me to be able to answer some of these things, whereas I might normally have steered away from them because it's like, do I need to say that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then it kind of gives you the permission because you're like, oh, you do want to know my thoughts on this. Like, I don't know. That's an odd. Well, I'm glad you asked.
Funny you should ask.
Funny you should ask. So some of them are silly that we can answer like fairly quickly. Truth be told, I went in from my profile and asked a question, and it was like, "What do you love most about your sister?" And then it came through on the back end, and I was like, "Hee hee hee." It was me.
Wait.
It was me. So we don't have to answer that one because it was like totally me, but we can do it anyway because this is my podcast. So.
I love to open with that. We've got some tough ones coming up. So I think that's like, yeah, let's open. What do you love? Thank you for your truth that you.
So there's one thing about me. Not a liar. I'm a terrible, terrible, terrible liar. Like it just doesn't bode well for me in my life. So even if I want to say something, I'm like, this was me. Like, here we go. Like, it comes out for a second.
So the question is, what do you love most about your sister? Well, since you asked it, I think you should go first because I need a minute.
Okay. So I was thinking about this yesterday, and I think the thing that I love most, it's such a hard, now take this into consideration. I have difficulty picking a favorite movie, amongst other things, I have difficulty picking a favorite thing. But I think the thing that I love most about my sister is that she has an unwavering stance when it comes to backing me up and making me feel like I am supported in whatever I want to do. It's like, I can't even explain it in a way of like, oh, you have those people that support you. No, it's an aggressive, unwavering, like stance that is just like, I could probably kill someone and she would be like, that was not a good idea. But what I think is the body should go here. You know what I mean?
Well, that is so nice and also so true. Because you ever see that one on TikTok and they're like, or I don't know where I saw it, but it was like about, who your true friends are. And if you start saying like, we need to get the car or whatever. And your true friend is just like, what time were we meeting? Where's the body? Like, it's no problem. Like,
yeah.
I do pride myself on that, and it's true.
Well, there's also and I hate to I hate to say this, but I'm saying it because it is 100% true. And I've seen this happen throughout my life. There are some people who are going to genuinely be happy for you when you are successful or when you are doing something that you shine brightly. And you can see the difference. And some people that feel a little bit resentful because you're going out of their circle. You're like going further away from them, or you're reminding them, internally of something that they are not doing, or, it's always a reflection because every person is selfish, but
inherently,
not in a bad way. Inherently, every person is selfish, and that you should be. But there's always people who think you're definitely in your corner, and then you do something, and you're like, oh, are you not? This is good for me. Are you not genuinely happy? And then there are people that you see just like shine from the inside out when you're doing your thing, and you're like, wow, they're really feeling this with me.
Yeah.
And those people are special.
Yeah, I just want to see you shine the brightest that you possibly can, and I literally would take light from anywhere to make sure that you had it. So I agree.
I agree. I concur.
You're correct on that. My favorite thing about my sister is the incredible amount of positive energy she brings to every situation. When she walks into a room, it literally changes the entire vibe. It's so much just caring, genuine, good vibes that are not forced. She genuinely when she asks you how you are, she is listening to the answer. She is so caring about all of the people around her. And I mean, that's like the social worker. Like, she just lives to improve the lives of the people around her. And that is just a quality that I just think it's so hard to find. And it really makes me always feel that you are living your best and most your truth is building up the people around you and being so just genuinely happy to be here. When you're having a bad day, all you have to do is just call Kelsey, because she's just happy to be here. And I don't want to, I know that sometimes some people's best qualities is also like their most difficult thing, because they feel like other people are reliant on their like light and energy and positivity, and like that's hard to bring every day. So I don't want to put in a lot of pressure on you or anything, but I just want you to know that even on your worst day, what you're emoting to the world is just so important to me as your sister. It makes me so proud of you and just want to be around you all the time. So good on you. That's my favorite thing about you.
This was such a great question, even if it was just for us.
Even if you asked it.
Such a great...
Did you just say your own question was a great question? Did you do that? Did you do that on your podcast? Okay.
I did,
okay.
Because you know what? I do feel like it's important to tell the people around us what we love the most about them, because we're enjoying it all the time and have been for years. Like, when it comes to like your siblings, your family members too, I think like we don't take enough time generally to tell those people those things. And I always say like, you should do this more, Kelsey. Like you should tell them how much they mean to you or what they're doing on a daily basis that just makes your cup full. And that's why I think this was a great question.
Pause the podcast or make a mental note later on today that you are going to tell someone your favorite thing about them, because it's a feel-good exercise. And you don't need to get it in return. Just, make sure to stop it during your day and say like, hey, have I told you my favorite thing about you lately? Because if not, here it is. It's a nice exercise for today.
Love it.
What else we got? Anonymous questions. What else we got?
All right, the
actual anonymous questions from the actual people.
The actual ones. We did get many of them, and I can run through a couple of them that I felt like were some low-hanging fruits. And then I do want to say that there are some that I definitely think require an entire episode. Like some of these questions are in the nitty-gritty of how we feel about some things. And I was just like, wow, this is an excellent question. I think it deserves an entire episode. So we will touch on it, but I think maybe some will, look to build out in the future. Okay. Do you ever get shorts made just for you that you do not show us?
Do you want to answer that?
Want me to answer that first? My answer is yes. 100%.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
And sometimes I've been caught. But I will say this, there have been times where initially I made shorts that were designed just for me, and was caught wearing them. And then people asked for them so much that we made them in the future. And some of those patterns, as I was thinking about this, tie-dye skull was actually one of the original patterns that was made just for me. And now we've made it in shorts, leggings, and we've re-released it, and now we have a rosé skull. So that's fun. And Wild Thing was a pattern that was actually made just for me. Avocado skulls, which, is that what we ended up calling them? Yeah, ice cream skulls. Ice cream skulls. I saw avocados. You guys saw ice cream.
They were originally just your shorts, so you came up with your own name without like the rest of the team, because they were actually just made for you.
Exactly. 100%. Even our butterfly back bra, that originally was just made for me. It's now a staple, but these are the ones that actually made it into, you guys saw them and we were like, okay, I guess we've got to get a couple more.
Maybe we should share with our
But
friends. Yeah, no, I think that a lot of our, now thinking back on it, staple patterns have been just stuff that, we really just wanted for ourselves individually. But you know what? If that's not the perks of owning a damn freaking fitness apparel company, then I don't know what the perks are. I mean, come on. So, I also have things that I've had made just for me. More so like, we get a lot of samples sent to us. We are always developing and making new products. And so some of the things are like, yeah, this is totally going to be great for the masses. And some of them it's like, maybe I'm just loving this. But yeah, we definitely have some. And I'm always like super careful to make sure that I'm not wearing them in anything. Like, wait a minute. They get mad.
But even some early on shirts though were, originals that were just for Rachel or I, and people have been like, some have hit and some have not, but mostly hit, I would say. But like we would just make them and wear them, and then, then we were like, oh, we got to add those to the site now. Because I remember there was a patriarchy one that was,
Riot's Not Diet.
And we had me, you, and Mom.
Riot's Not Diets. Yes. I made just for me.
And Riot's Not Diets.
I was like, this is a me shirt.
And then,
I need this.
Yes. But now, then it ended up, people wanted it, obviously. Those are our people. But yeah, there's a couple. There have definitely been some that have made it into life, and then some that have just stayed. Our first run at tie-dye, I just wore just for me. But then we ended up coming out with Die Hard after, which was a different variation of that. But I started with an original. It was like a blue and green tie-dye that I was feeling.
I remember those. Yeah. Well, perks of being us, I guess.
Another CVG related. Well, hopefully that answered your question.
Yes.
So we're like, yes, but if you see it, and then we might add it. Another CVG related one that I thought was interesting was this person asked if I don't know why my doc just went away. But asked if we ever regretted starting CVG, like it's too much work, and wish we stayed at other jobs and not created CVG. Oh, have you ever felt like you wish you didn't do CVG? Like maybe sometimes it's too stressful, too time commitment, and that you wish you could go back to the jobs before.
That's a good one. CVG takes more time than any job I could ever have or ever create. CVG is more stressful than any job that I've ever had or could ever be at. But as it often is, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. And for me, I wouldn't change anything, because although there are times when I say like, oh, wouldn't it be easier to just have a normal job that you leave at the end of the day? That wouldn't it be, so much easier to just have a job that like you weren't responsible for, whether the school system continued to thrive or not, single-handedly. Like these things there are a lot of pressure sometimes. And sometimes it is easy to look outside and say like, geez, maybe just having kind of a normal job would would give me more of my time. But I just think that there is also no job And teaching runs a close second because obviously that's a job where the rewards can run really high. You're working with people, children who, can come back and say, like, you literally changed my life. So, I definitely have always chosen professions that I feel like have made the biggest impact that I possibly can. But I still wouldn't change it because this is, I feel like, what we were put here to do. And all of the stress and all of the time and all of the things that make it so difficult also make it so worth doing. And, like League of Their Own, like the heart is what makes it great. Like that is what makes it great for me. And if it was easier, or if it was less time consuming, or if it was less stressful, it just wouldn't have the rewarding feeling that I get every single day from coming here. So no, I wouldn't change it. But I've thought about it.
Yeah, you know what? I completely agree. I'll say straight out that I never wish that I had chosen a different path. I think that I have had other jobs that I've felt like were very stressful at the time, but it's always felt like more of a different kind of stress. And I do think that although when you compare the two, like I've worked in behavioral treatment residence where like I've literally had to physically restrain other humans, and I've done in-home work with families who are struggling through DCF and have had their children removed, and a ton of domestic violence incidents, and working with those families doing individual therapy. So I've been in stressful situations, and I still come to this and say, like, this seems to still be the most stressful, which is so weird. But it's a different kind because, yeah, you just don't leave it. And then there's a hit home factor where it's your family and it's your friends and it's these people that you feel like are your family and friends in this community that we've built. And they, deserve the best every day from us. And that type of pressure sometimes for me, I'm like, they need the best from you. Doesn't, you know what I mean? Like that kind of like builds up. They need, things that, the best things that fit them. They need the perfect answer to some of these questions. You need to make sure that you're doing more of this, fighting harder against the diet industry. It's hurting people, all of these different, aspects of CVG that make us so special, but also are very, of course, time consuming and stressful. And then, there's, of course, making sure everyone here is okay. But no, I definitely wouldn't go back. Wouldn't change it for the world. Get answer. What movie or TV show makes you laugh until you cry?
Okay. Confession. I do not watch anything funny. On purpose. This is a character flaw. I know there's like a million studies saying that like laughter like extends your life and that like you should try to seek out funny TV shows and movies. The fact is I watch so little TV that like this is gonna sound so much better in my head, but I think it's gonna sound horrible when I say it out loud. To me, if I'm gonna watch TV, it would be like a waste of time to watch something funny. Like I want to watch something that I'm gonna learn, or something like I really like documentaries, or something that I'm going like explained. Or if I'm gonna watch something, it needs to be like sort of serious because I'm like sinking a lot of time into this thing, and I don't, oh my God, that sounds terrible. What a sicko. I don't want to laugh.
I don't think that sounds terrible. I think like when you're looking at your time and prioritizing it how you want to, and if you feel like you need that time to learn something, that's completely acceptable. That's completely acceptable. Maybe you don't want to laugh during. I seek out funny things for sure. I find it I think I'm one of those people who is also like addicted to learning, so I'm doing it all the time. So when I'm trying to relax, I actually don't look for documentaries. Not that I haven't watched them or won't. It's not one that I will look for when I'm looking to relax because like I'm like, I have to take notes. I have to remember this. It's not like something I can just like relax and do. And I actually really enjoy laughing and I search things out that make me laugh. And when I find something, I hold on to it. Like, I'm someone who will repeatedly watch The Office. The Heat is a movie that I will turn on if I feel really sad because it always makes
Love
me laugh.
Sandra Bullock.
Like,
Love
McCarthy.
Sandra Bullock.
I do. Sandra Bullock makes my heart happy. Melissa McCarthy makes my heart happy. And as soon as I start to hear it start up, I just feel joy. But I think The Heat is actually one that will definitely make me laugh until I cry. And if I have too many emotions. And New Girl was a show I started a couple years ago. I know I was like behind on it because I never catch anything on time. If their show comes out, I'll talk to you about it in 5 years.
Get to it.
We'll get to it. But as soon as I started watching it, like I'm a person. This is what I do out loud. I belly laugh on the couch at TV shows out loud. Like I don't like chuckle. I am giggling. Like it's a weird. If you've never
We couldn't be more opposite
before,
on
like I'm
this.
sitting on the left. Being like, and I'm like looking, I'm like sitting there, just like loving it. So yes, any Step Brothers, like I'm just in it. Like it's real weird. All right, do you want to ask any of these or
I
no?
have my dock up. I'm trying to limit my internet.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm trying to have nothing except
Oh yeah,
internet props.
except what except what, yeah. All right, so we're gonna dive into a more serious one. Okay, share your thoughts on thin privilege and how that impacts you and your perspective on wearing whatever you want.
I sat with this for a long time because I am still learning. I'm a work in progress. When it comes to privilege and questions surrounding privilege, I have had like the full range where I've gotten like defensive of my privilege, and then I've gotten like trying to sort of argue so it's such a complex issue because for me, what I've realized over the years is that so many things can be happening simultaneously. And that is what wrecks it for me because I really like when things are black and white. And it fits.
Yeah. You are right or
yes,
you are wrong.
And it fits nicely in a box and you are this or you are that. And the idea of privilege needs so much simultaneous things happening at once that it's bugged me for years. And I have gone back and forth on this. But here's where I'm at on thin privilege, what it means to me, what it means in general. Thin privilege and any kind of privilege, there's a million kinds of versions of this. What I have to keep telling myself is that privilege exists not in the way that other things can't also, that disprivilege can't exist. Is that a word? At the same time. Like I've said, like, well, wait, how can thin privilege exist if, I know so many women who exist in a smaller body but have body dysmorphia or have eating disorders so like this has bothered me because I'm like, well, I don't understand. That doesn't sound like privilege to me because that sounds like, and I've known so many people in larger bodies that have never struggled with body dysmorphia or eating disorders. And I'm like, I don't understand. So the idea for me that privilege can exist simultaneously with all kinds of other things in your life. Thin privilege to me means the fact that you are not experiencing prejudice in your life based solely on your body composition. That does not mean that you are not facing many other areas of prejudice in your life. It does not mean that you are not, mentally completely healthy in the area of body image and what you look like and how your body is presenting to the world. It is just simply that you have not been singled out and disprivileged due solely to the way that your body presents to the world. And that to me is what I really want people to understand about thin privilege, is that it doesn't mean that you are not suffering from other areas of prejudice in your life. It just means that you are being exempt from that particular one. And that really opened my eyes to the fact that not only does it exist, but it is so much a part of who I am and what I've experienced. And that also simultaneously, I have faced my own discrimination on being a woman. One of the things that I always think about with thin privilege is like when I go to the doctor and I say, I have this ailment, whatever. The immediate response for me is not, don't you think you could lose some weight? Or let's look at your BMI, or have you considered weight loss surgery? And though that is my privilege, right? But simultaneously, I have been told that I haven't had a major abdominal surgery because C-sections don't really count. So I'm facing my own prejudice being a woman in the medical field, but I'm exempt from a certain type of discrimination that's based solely on my body. And those two things are happening simultaneously. So sometimes it feels like, well, privilege should feel like, look at me. I go around the world and I don't face any discrimination whatsoever. That's privilege. I'm walking around so privileged and I have this clear path to all the things that I need. And I think that's where people get like stopped up in that word. That's not what it means. It means that I went to that doctor and they never once looked at my body and said, don't you think that this is a problem of just simply looking at my body and not looking at my health at all, and simply saying, and that is what thin privilege is to me. That was a long-winded answer. I'm sorry. I've thought so much about this, and it's like I have so many feelings.
No, I think that was a great answer. And I think that, this was the question that I was like, I'm so glad you asked, because I think I've been chomping at the bit to talk about thin privilege. In a way of just like opening up the discussion, because I think you are so right. When people are presented with the idea of privilege, they immediately think that that must mean that you have not experienced any hardship or any discrimination in your life. And that's just not the fact. The fact is that like, it's not to say that you don't struggle with body image. It's not to say that you have never had an eating disorder, or that someone's ever, said to you, like, are you sure you want to eat that? It's not that. It's that from a societal standpoint, you don't face discrimination based on the size of your body. That has nothing to do with you internally. So I think like separating those two is a really important part of thinking about thin privilege. And for me, this has been one of those, I don't like things that are black and white. My answers are never really black and white. So the idea that these things can exist together has been something that I find comforting, because I find that like I exist in many ways at the same time, and I can feel joy in my life and also feel incredible sadness, and I'm neither one of those things. Like I am a complex individual of all of those. So when it comes to thin privilege and thinking about that, I have thought about how can you use that privilege to dismantle the thing that you're benefiting from. And that's one of the things that I find so important, because I can't change the body that I'm in. This is the body that I have, and I want everyone to feel comfortable and confident in the body that they're in. And I hope to develop a world where we don't have a societal discrimination based on the body that you're in. And I think it's important for people, for women in every body size, to echo that same message. So I think like all of us, when it comes to, me sitting in a smaller body, saying health is not based on the size of your body. There is value in the fact that I'm saying that, because I am capitalizing on my privilege right there. I'm saying I'm not healthier than someone in a larger body. No matter what you think your eyes are telling you, I am not healthier than this other person based on the size of my body. You've not asked us anything about our daily habits. You've not asked us anything about how we feel. So if you don't know any of our health markers, don't look at me and tell me that I'm healthier than another person, and there is value in that. So I think that when it comes to the ability to talk about thin privilege, it's always one of those things where I'm excited by the challenge, and I think it's an important discussion. And I think that it's very important to understand that thin privilege is very real. And it doesn't mean that you have never, it's so important, because we look at these other internalized things where we say like, well, I didn't benefit from thin privilege because I've had an eating disorder, or because I have, I don't feel comfortable wearing a crop top or shorts, or, I have cellulite on my legs. I carry more in my midsection, so I don't want to wear a crop top. Like I have, body dysmorphia, so I don't benefit from thin privilege. Those are two separate things.
That's what I needed to.
All of those things that you
said. And I think that there are so many people that need to make that separation, because that's where I really was missing. I just heard the word privilege and I just thought, well, that can't be, because how can someone be so insecure about their body and also be so privileged at the same time? That doesn't sound like privilege to me, but it is. Those things are happening at the same time, and they can live together. And it's like, that blew my mind.
Well, one thing that I like to bring up when I talk about that too is just that, like, if we're going to honestly talk about thin privilege and recognize that you have benefited from a societal standpoint from being in a smaller body, you can say, yes, of course I have. But we cannot also negate someone's feelings about how they internalize how they feel about their body. Because if you start doing that, you do it on every spectrum. You start to say, if you're in a larger body, you can't be confident. If you're in a smaller body, you have to be confident. No, none of that is true. And when you internalize how you feel about your body, it has nothing to do with the privilege you are experiencing from a societal standpoint. Like, there are so many women, and I was one of them at one point, where like I would not wear shorts. I have always been fairly thin, but I wouldn't wear shorts because my legs were bigger, and I felt like I had a lot of cellulite on them, and I was just like, you know what, like, I'm covering these babies up because no one will ever know. And from someone else's perspective, they could say, you should have felt so confident. Yeah, well, that's not the facts.
Whenever you start with you should have felt, that just back that right the fuck up, because that's just no.
And you do the same thing. Well, you're doing the same thing with people, with someone else who's in a larger body, when you ask things like, how are you so confident? Or or even in a negative stance of being like, you shouldn't wear that, or how can you feel confident in that, whatever it is. Those questions, number one, like, why should you not feel confident in that crop top if you're in a larger body?
So the thing, and I struggled with this, because like I have this feeling of action has to follow any realization. So like the realization that I have thin privilege felt to me very much like a, well, what are you going to fucking do about it then? Because you can't just sit and have privilege. You have to change it. You can't
just sit with it.
So, and this is the other thing that I wanted to really say about, you know, recognizing privilege in all aspects. This is racially, you know, gender wise, like sexual preference wise, like all these things, is that I think that it really, people need to take the pressure off of themselves that they have to do something immediately, or that they have to feel a certain type of way. Like you have to feel guilty because you have thin privilege, and people don't want to feel guilty. They feel like that's not fair, and this is why I think people reject these ideas of privilege, is because they feel like it's making them feel a certain type of way about the inactivity they've done to change these kind of social norms. But the fact is just recognizing them is such a powerful thing. Just the recognition that you have a certain type of privilege, and that does not mean that your life is perfect. That does not mean that you don't face discrimination in other areas, but just the recognition of it. It really is such an eye-opening thing to just say, I don't need to necessarily feel bad about this or act on this immediately, but I'm just recognizing it and then checking it when I see it in myself. Like, you know, thin privilege exists. Okay. When I'm sitting with a friend in a larger body and they say like, oh, I really want like some greasy, nasty takeout. Like I'm in the mood for, like, having a certain feeling on that and then checking that and recognizing it and saying like, okay, I see how that made me pause, and like how if I had said that statement, it wouldn't have sounded the same to society. And recognizing that and hearing it and then addressing it in your own life is really so important. And you don't have to go out and say like, I need to make a public apology to everyone that I was born in a smaller body. Like, I'm sorry for all. It's not like that. That's what turns people off about it. It's not like that. It's just the recognition in your life. And honestly, that alone can make so much of a difference when it comes to the way you interact with people, the way you teach your children to interact with people. It's just about recognizing that it's there and not feeling so much pressure to say like, well, I'm responsible for dismantling this now. Like, it's not all going to happen in one day, but you can be an ally, and you can have, this is the thing that I've said to myself, you can have a podcast where you talk about health in everybody and be in a smaller body. You can do that. That can happen simultaneously. You don't have to be in a certain body to say that. And that is like, you know, I just think that is really the most important thing, is understanding that you are an ally no matter what body you're in.
You know, I love that you said that, because that was it alluded to one of the other questions that was brought up about talking about, you know, we've said fuck the scale for probably 5 years now.
What was it, the third podcast episode we did was fuck the scale? Was it?
Maybe it was the first one. Where it was not, you know, it was not mainstream. It was not a thing yet. And we just, you know, came right out with it. And I think one of the important things that you brought up as you were explaining it was like, you know, I've had this, you know, recognition, and then, you know, I wanted it to immediately follow with action. And it's such a nuanced thing, right? Because you want to say like, I recognize this, I would like to take action. And then there are a lot of spaces where it's like not you taking action. And it's like, well, I'm here, I'm part of this movement to change this, because I didn't create it. I didn't create thin privilege. I've benefited from it, but I would like to be a part of dismantling it. So it's an interesting thing, because then, you know, there are some spaces where it's like, no, you can't be a part of dismantling it. It will take everyone. it will take everyone and every voice and everyone saying like, nope, that is not how we're doing things, and fuck the scale, because it is not going to tell us how, what our health markers are, and we're not striving to be a certain weight, because we have always, I want to say every woman, but most women have felt the pressure to either get to a certain weight or stay at a certain weight, and it meant something if you came outside of those guidelines of that weight, and that's been reinforced from a societal standpoint, and you've felt the pressure from that. And I know that I have personally sat in doctors' offices nervously sweating about getting on the scale and thinking about how much clothes I can take off without making it weird, because what if I fall outside of this thing? And it's just been like, what is your problem? You're here for your shoulder. You know what I mean? But it's like that, like weird, it's just like that weird thing that takes over, and it's just like, is that real? Yes, 100% that is. However, being a part of dismantling that whole idea is important for every one of us.
Just diversity in the message is, and that's why we so encourage people to just diversify all of the places that you're hearing the good messaging from. You should be following people who have these messages in larger bodies, in smaller bodies. You should be following people who are anybody. This is what I really truly feel in my heart.
Everybody.
Come on. Every single buddy. All you. If we can diversify this message so that it is not being said only by one specific group of people that look like they might have some way to benefit from it, right? If it's a diversified message from so many different kinds of voices, and even some that you say like, that gives me pause that kind of body might be coming out with, a body positivity message. And maybe your first instinct is to say like, that doesn't feel right to me, because doesn't it feel so easy? And whatever, sit with that too. Because that's something to sit with too at the same time, is that this person can't say this because they look a certain way. Like, this is all something to sit with.
Can you stop on that for a second? Because like, this person can't say this because they look a certain way is the exact thing that we are trying to dismantle, especially for women. There is nothing you can't say because you look a certain way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like women are more likely to not say anything, or to not have a voice, and to not have the courage almost to use their voice, because they're worried of so much backlash. And it's just like, I'm always encouraging women to just like come out and say your feels, and a lot of people will align with that, or some won't, of course, but it might it's always giving other women courage to do the same and live their truth.
The problem for me has always been like, I have a difficult time shutting up, so I'm not going to be,
she's like, I don't align with that.
I'm not going to be told to be quiet for any reason. What I look like, what I sound like, what my message comes across like. I'm just not going to be told to be quiet. I've been told to be quiet before, and it's not worked yet. So, I really think it's all about diversity, and it's all about recognizing and sitting with the privilege that you have, because we can definitely recognize at the same time as saying, we're going to dismantle that. We can say we've benefited from it at the same time. This is my new thing of like, this is blowing my mind that so many things can be happening simultaneously, and I love it. But I really do think, we could do a whole ass. Let's do this. Do you want to do the second half of the questions in a part 2?
Yes. Yeah. And we'll open it up. So if you enjoyed this one too, you can add, we'll put in another question box, because we definitely didn't get to all of them, but I want to offer you guys the opportunity to, ask some other ones anonymously. It's totally anonymous, so you get to ask whatever you want. But I did want to end with like a funny thing.
Okay.
Just being like, just a quick funny thing with, what are the fall looks you're feeling right now?
Well, that's a good one. Well, I don't like fall. I don't like cold. I don't like, but I do appreciate a good cozy sweatshirt. So, I have been feeling cozy season in the way of like just embrace it and get all of that cozy wear that you really, I've been wearing jean shorts all summer, like trying to, do the damn. Why am I doing that? They just don't stretch enough and it's just uncomfortable.
I
But
know.
I was
Yeah.
trying to do these outfits, but now I feel like I can really do cozy season. I'm into these crew necks that we have. I'm trying to expand to boots. Like I always am like I go on flip flops and I can do all the like open toed kind of, but like I'm like a little bit slow to the boots game. So I'm trying to up my boots game and just trying to embrace the cozy.
So one of the fall looks I'm feeling right now is the like boots with spandex shorts that are like 5 or 7 with like an oversized crew neck. I'm like really, I feel like that's a fall look that we're seeing. It's 2022 fall. But like with the hat, I really didn't know.
No,
What?
because I see it on these girls. I'm like, I freaking
Yeah.
love it, but I feel like I'm too old.
No, you're never too old. You just
Are you
go
sure?
into
Because it looks
yes, I'm
really
100%.
fashionable, and I'm like, but I
It
can't
does,
because I'm
right?
old.
It's no, you can totally do. It's kind of blowing my mind because I thought I had to. I'm a big shorts wearer, if you didn't know. And I thought that like going into cozy season, you just had to like let go of the shorts, but like my legs need to breathe. My thighs need air, but I get cold really easily. So that's one of the looks I'm totally just like digging on this year because I like that like oversized, like crew neck look. And then
And the
we
long
do have
spandex shorts. But can you help me?
yes.
Can you help me?
Yes.
All right.
I totally
I
will.
want to.
It's such a cute,
I know,
and you
so
can
cute.
like get some good patterns in with that with the long like spandex shorts because it's just like it's a little bit, and then you get the oversized thing, and then you got the boots. It's just like yes,
I'm into
yes, all of that. I'm feeling it. Also like some matchy top bottom situations that are going on. I mean, we have like a zip up with a matching like solid top bottom going on that reads so like hot girl fall to me.
I love
Where you're
matchy.
like, oh, it's just my zip up here.
I've been
You know
waiting
what I
my
mean?
whole life for matchy because it
Yeah.
literally takes out any of the like, how do I put this outfit together? I've been waiting my whole life for this. Just give me two pieces that are the same and I put them
Yeah.
together and it looks like a whole ass, it looks like I tried. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All that.
And it's just like, oh, I'm just like running to Target.
God, get Miss
Or to get
Starbucks.
coffee,
Like,
but
we
like
have
I'm
Miss
in
Starbucks. So
my
put together.
activewear. I'm here for that. Obviously, we got some too that are amazing, and they're coming in 2 colors, periwinkle and black. And I'm just like, I'm here for it. It's just like hot girl fall for me. So I think those are my top 2 looks that I'm leaning into this year in the fall. I know you guys want my fashion advice, so there it
I'm
is.
with you. I'm going full tilt on the matchy. I just need you to help me with my long shorts.
Yes.
I wore short shorts my whole life, so I need help with the long shorts and I not look like, like what's that old lady doing? Trying to come
Yeah.
be stylish. Okay, you'll help me. Okay.
I got you. All right, guys, we hope you really enjoyed this. We're going to give you some more questions for you to ask in the future. And we appreciate the discussion and the like honesty and candor from you guys from just like throwing those questions out there because like we want to talk to you about them.
Thank you, besties.